Dad had to give up his son due to mental health, and after 12 years, wants to make contact. Part 1. I was separated from my child 12 years ago. If possible, I'd like to try and contact him, but his mother got a restraining order against me a long time ago. Is there any legal way to proceed? Throw away for privacy reasons? Here goes. 14 years ago, I was married and we had a baby boy. At that time, I was not in a good place at all. I had serious mental health issues due to things that happened during my childhood, which led to deep depression, which I left untreated for a long time. I was a mess. I did drugs sometimes. I was unable to take care of myself, even less of a child, even if I loved him a huge lot. I was unable to connect to people, and to be a good father because of my poor mental health. I had also anger issues and hated myself with a passion. I was unable to keep a job and had no stable income even though I have skills. My wife tried to help, but at some point it was too much, and she left with the child. We had a divorce when my son was about to, and she got full custody, which I'm first to admit was the right thing for the kid. I would never have abused him, but wasn't able to supervise him properly and offer him the emotional stability a child needs. Soon after she left, my ex-wife met someone and moved in with him. Then they got married. I know him a little, and he's a good, stable person. I knew my kid was in a good home, so it was fine. Moreover, I didn't think it would be good for him, which I now understand was probably not true, but at the time I wasn't able to make sound decisions. I paid some child support, not much because of my low income, but I always made the payments I was required to. Then an incident happened. My ex-wife agreed to meet me in a bar because I wanted to talk to her, and when we were there, I got frustrated. At how the discussion went, I yelled at her, got mad at a man who tried to intervene, and ended up outside fighting with him, which terrified my ex-wife. In the end, the guy had pity on me because he saw what a sorry mess I was, and let it go. However, that was it for my ex-wife, and she said she never wanted me around anymore because I was dangerous. Her father had anger management issues too, so she didn't want to go through this again. She got a restraining order against me, which I respected. She told me she would never let me near our child for fear I would hurt him. I never would, but I understand how she could come to this conclusion after I had been verbally violent with her. Anyway, I was sure that I would soon be dead, so I just gave up and I didn't really try and see my son after that. Soon thereafter, I was persuaded to relinquish my parental rights so his stepfather could adopt him. I thought he was young enough to forget me, and he now had a good family. It hurt a lot doing this, but I was convinced it was the right thing to do for him. I felt completely worthless at the time, so I thought it was all for the better. And I got completely out of his life. Asterisk follow for part 2. Dad had to give up his son due to mental health, and after 12 years, wants to make contact part 2, however. Time passed, and after years of misery and struggling and wanting to die, I finally received help and support, and somehow got my shit together. I dealt with my suffering and turned my life around in a way I would never have thought possible. And I've changed for the better. All this time it hurt a lot to be without my kid, even if I knew he was in a safe place, knowing he was there somewhere. Has been one of the motivators for climbing out of the hole. I still miss him terribly, and I wonder how he's doing, what he's up to, what his life is like. I want him to know I'm there for him if he wants me. I'm not even sure if he knows about me. I'm aware contacting him could be very upsetting, and I don't want to do this to him or his family, so I'd like to ask his mother what she thinks about it, and I'm prepared to be told no. And what she told him about me, but I'm not supposed to contact her because of the restraining order. I don't want to do anything illegal. Moreover, I have a good job now, and would risk being fired if I did. I'm lost, and don't know what to do. I know it's my fault if I didn't have any contact with him for all this time. I take full responsibility for that, and I understand that I'm not legally his father anymore. So my question is this. Is there any way I can get around this without breaking the restraining order, or doing anything wrong or illegal? The last thing I want is to mess things up once more. Update 1. A quick update to warmly thank the people at our Legledvas for your help. As you advised me, I got a lawyer, and he was able to confirm that the restraining order was indeed expired and had been for a long time. This means I'm free to contact my son's mother, ask her if he knows about me, and if she would be willing to let me write to him. Again, thanks a lot. You might not realize it, but your advice gave me the boost of confidence. I needed to start this process when I was stuck thinking there was no hope because of the restraining order. Time to move to the next step now. Not the easiest, and pray my ex-wife will react well with me contacting her after all this time. Asterisk follow for part 3. Dad had to give up his son due to mental health, and after 12 years he wants to make contact part 3. Update 2. I wrote a letter to my ex-wife. I spare you the detail, but in it, I apologize for what I've done and took responsibility for it. I also told her that I've made efforts to better myself and how I got my act together, that I'm aware that she only has my word as proof for it, and I know that's not much. I asked if she would let me know how she and my son were doing and if she'd be willing to share a bit about his life. I asked if he knows about me, and if she thinks there's a chance she would let me contact him at some point in the future. I also added that I won't make any further attempt at contact. If she doesn't answer, or if she asks me to stop. I really wasn't sure she would answer, but she did. It was a long and emotional letter. I don't want to say too much, but she says she has forgiven me and she's glad I'm doing better. She, my son, and her husband are doing well. My son is a happy young man. He's doing great in school and has a nice group of friends. She finds him very mature for his age. He knows what he wants to do with his future. He has a good relationship with his parents and siblings. Reading this has been a huge relief. I'm so glad he's doing well. She said I was right to give him up for adoption, however difficult it may have been. I knew it, but reading it from my ex-wife has been incredibly comforting. My son knows he's adopted. He knows why his mom left with him and why he's never met me. Apart from that, he doesn't know much about me. I was asked a few questions over the years, and his mother has answered truthfully, and she writes that she hasn't badmouthed me, and I believe her. As for contacting him in the future, she'll think about it, but she and her husband need to talk about it first and see if my son wants it. And obviously my ex-wife and her husband will need to talk to me to see if I've changed for real. She said that she needs time to think about it, and she doesn't want to rush things. But whatever they decide in the end, she won't keep me in the dark. So now all I've got to do is wait. This is a positive outcome. Knowing my son is doing great is what I had been hoping for all these years, and it helps a lot, even more than I would have expected. Even if I'm not sure if there will be contact in the future, there's hope, so that's fine. Asterisk follow for part 4. Dad had to give up his son due to mental health, and after 12 years, he wants to make contact part 4, update 3. Great things happened over the last few months. My ex-wife wrote me a second letter of effects weeks after she first answered mine and said she'd be willing to meet with me so we could talk. I hadn't thought she'd want to do this because the last time I saw her was when I scared her so much, and we met for the first time in almost 12 years. We met in a coffee shop. Needless to say, we both were very emotional. Things went well, and we ended up remaining there all afternoon talking about a lot of things we needed to get off our chests. I was finally able to apologize in person for the things I put her through. I told her about my years of darkness and suffering and what caused them. The struggle to get better and the progress I've made towards healing and turning my life around. She said again that she forgives me and she understands that I was in a lot of pain and it wasn't easy. And that it makes her happy to see where I am now because in spite of it all, part of her was still worrying about me. He told me about her life with our son and the 2 kids she has with her second husband. They're a great family and I'm really grateful that my son is growing up between loving parents and siblings and that he's happy. We were able to talk with an open heart and we both cried a lot, but that did us a lot of good, I think. Then over the following weeks, I met 2 more times with my ex and her husband to discuss potentially contacting my son. And they seemed to agree that I'm much better than I was, and I have my act together now, and that I've been able to get somewhere in life. They're willing to trust me, and I am extremely grateful to them for giving me a chance. I wouldn't even have dreamed of that until a few months ago. I told them how thankful I am that they shared news of my son with me and told me about his life. Not knowing how he was for all that time, while there were good reasons for that, has been very tough. From what my ex-wife and her husbands told me, in the last 2 years or so, my son has been asking questions about why he was adopted. His parents have explained why his mom had to leave and take him with her, how I wasn't able to be a father for him due to my issues, and that I gave up my parental rights so his stepdad could raise him like his own son. They have told him the truth and haven't sugarcoated anything. He has asked once if they knew what had become of me at the time. They didn't. So after we met, they decided to tell him that we've been in contact and have asked him how he feels about it. He has had a rather positive reaction. He said it was cool. They told him also that I've asked if I could write him a letter, but it would only happen if he's fine with it, and there's no pressure for him to say yes or to answer in any way. From what they told me, he talked about it with friends and decided that he'd be okay with receiving a letter from me. I'm currently writing one to be exact. I've written and torn up about 30 versions of it in the last few days to first thank him for letting me contact him and tell him that I love him and I'm there for him if he has any question about me. It's why I couldn't raise him or anything. I write that he's under no obligation of any kind to answer or do or say anything, because I completely understand that from his point of view, I'm a stranger and I'm not asking for anything from him. And I won't contact him in the future if he doesn't want me to. But I'll be there if he needs anything. I'm incredibly thankful that things went so well. I finally have a chance to contact my son. Just as 6 months ago, I wouldn't have dared hoping for such an outcome. I feel better now than I ever have. Talking to my ex-wife has been incredibly comforting. I've been crying tears of relief every day for a few weeks. I wasn't aware of that. I needed it so bad. I feel whole for the first time in a very long time, and typing this feels wonderful. Asterisk. Follow for part 5. Dad had to give up his son due to mental health, and after 12 years he wants to make contact final. Part update for lots of things happened since my last update. People were asking, and also it's been good to share it with you guys. After all, it all happened because you helped me last year. After discussing it long with my ex-wife and her husband, I wrote a letter to my son. I made it short, just told him I was his bio dad, and that as he had learned from his parents I had given him up for adoption because of some issues that I had. I told him a few things about my life, where I live, my job, my girlfriend, and so on. I let him know that I was there if he wanted to write back or if he had any question about me. But if he didn't want to, I would disappear from his life and not bother him any longer. I waited about 3 weeks for an answer. It came under a form I had not been expecting. My son texted me one evening to say hello and wish me a happy new year. We exchanged a few texts, small talk, but that meant a huge lot to me. I had left my phone number in my letter just in case, but I had imagined he would have written a letter if he wanted to talk to me. I had thought I would have time to think about my answer, but with the texts, I had to answer fast and not let my emotions overwhelm me. In the following weeks we exchanged texts a few more times. It's great because he's very direct and has no trouble asking me questions. He wants to know where I come from. He's asked things about my family and my childhood. That one is a bit hard because I have no family left, and my childhood was a nightmare, and I don't want him to be disturbed by that. I've left out the worst for now. One day out of the blue, he texted me that he'd like to meet me face to face. That was before the pandemic, because texting's okay, but he'd like to see what I look like. I didn't expect that at all. I thought he'd want maybe to call or Skype one day, but I never imagined he would ask to meet me so soon. He said his parents were okay with it. I imagine they must have been saying good things about me if it prompted him to ask to meet me. So we arranged for my son, his family and I to meet at a state park to do some hiking and a picnic together. At first I was very tensed and didn't know what to expect, but the day went quite well. I even managed not to cry, even though I was sure I would. We had fun, we talked a lot, mostly about my son's hobbies, sports, school. Well, the things that matter into a teenager's life. He asked me about my job, where I live, my hobbies, even about my girlfriend. At no moment did we feel awkward, which had been a fear of mine. My son is smart, and I could see that he has a good relationship with his parents and siblings, and I'm very glad about that. They look like a loving and stable family, which is what I hoped to be providing him with when I gave up my rights. We didn't speak in detail of the reasons why I had to give him up for adoption, or the time when I wasn't doing well, but I think it's as well for now. His mom told him about it a bit, but not all the detail. We'll discuss it in the future, if, when he wants to. We had a good day together, and I feel really thankful for having been able to meet him. My son said he hoped we would meet again soon so he could get to know me better, which of course makes me very happy. I also hope that one day he can meet my girlfriend's soon-to-be wife. The pandemic has kind of derailed that for now, but we'll meet again soon, I'm sure. In the meantime, we still exchange texts regularly and Skype from time to time. I set a trust fund for him that should help if when he goes to college. I don't plan to have other kids and I can afford it, so it's only fair. After all, I brought him into this world, so I feel it's my responsibility, even if I didn't raise him. I hope we can build a relationship and maybe one day he'll invite me to his graduation. That's a dream of mine. We'll see how it goes. Meeting him has brought me a lot of joy and comfort. It gives me closure in a way that's a very good feeling, and I needed that. I know I'll need to navigate our relationship carefully, but I feel confident that it will work, and there's a lot more for us in the future. Asterisk follow for more.